crackheads out. Woo! Welcome back to Crackhead Conversations. I'm your host, Anastasia.
And I'm your other host, Hannah.
And today we are going to be diving into the Mean Girls movie musical that just recently came out. Also, Happy New Year.
Whoa.
It's like halfway through January. It's like halfway through January, and we're finally recording shit again. Because, life happens. And so, kind of delayed a little bit, but Happy New Year. Hope everyone had, let me just have a stroke. Hope everyone had a great, I don't know, bitch, holiday. Everyone had a safe New Year, all that jazz. But, yeah, let's just go into the topic. So we've kind of broken down this episode in a couple of segments. So we're going to be talking about the original movie, and then for those of you who didn't know that this new one was a musical, it's a musical. And we're gonna talk about the Broadway musical, and then the film adaptation, and then something else afterwards. But we'll talk about that one later at the end. Yes, for those of you who don't know, who've never seen Mean Girls, first of all, how have you never seen Mean Girls? I remember vividly the first time watching the movie. It was like such an iconic moment, and I feel like, God, you can rewatch that movie whenever. And I feel like that movie is for like anyone of any age, and it's a good time. All around through and through. Um so yeah, and that movie came out in 2004, which honestly the early 2000s, what a mess, but like an iconic mess, you know what I mean?
No, there were some good movies. And because I watched Mean Girls
Oh yeah.
on DVD for like, I did not watch it in the theaters because I was like 6 years old by the time when it released. I probably bought it. I probably rented it from like Blockbuster or something, even though I think I own the DVD later. But I watched it, loved it, found it hilarious, but actually the movie was a bad influence on me because after I watched it, I like got in an argument with my sister and I called her a slut. And then my mom was like, what did you just say? Where did you learn that? And I was like, it was in the movie Mean Girls. I got in trouble and I had to go put my nose to the wall for a little bit. So because I just
My God, that's
rewatched Mean
hilarious.
Girls. I just rewatched Mean Girls in preparation for this movie because I was like, I haven't seen it in a hot minute. Like, even though I remember like most everything from the movie, and damn, that shit still holds up. Like, it was still just as funny. Like it really does still hold up, and that's a testament. I mean, there's definitely stuff which we'll get into that like worked in '04 that does not work now in 24. But yeah, no, they definitely use
Which
slut
is
and whore
crazy,
a lot
bitch.
more. Yeah, and I'm a Tina Fey stan, so I love that woman so much. Like, my favorite TV show of all time, 30 Rock. So like, I love her humor, so like anything she does, like she's one of my like comedic inspirations. So yeah, I was here for it. Especially the fact that like Tina Fey was behind all of these adaptions. Like, hey,
Right.
she's the one who adapted it. Like, she would know like the best, like, hey, like this is what I want to do. I mean, sometimes shit flops, sometimes things doesn't work, but that's what everyone kept saying. Like, the fact that Tina Fey was attached to it, that made everybody the more reason to say yes to do this new adaptation of it.
Right. And I feel like, yeah, to piggyback up what you were saying is like, I feel like when the person who like originally makes the material is still attached to all these remakes, then people feel like, at least I did, with like the musical and now the movie musical, like she still has her hands in it, so like it's still gonna be essentially taken care of the same way that the original movie was taken care of, because you've got the mastermind behind the original, behind all the other ones. So it's still gonna have that same feeling, but be different, which we'll get into with the musical adaptation and the movie musical, where it still feels kind of the same, but also different because Tina Fey is still attached to it. I feel like if they had somebody else attached to it who wasn't a part of like the original, then people might have been a little more weary and a little more against the idea if she wasn't behind it. So the fact that thankfully she's still behind all these projects makes you kind of feel wow, what the fuck are the words I'm looking for? It makes you be like want to be more open to the idea. So yeah, definitely, I think it helps that she's behind all the adaptations. But yeah, no, I remember watching it. First of all, watching Mean Girls as a young child probably not the best idea for me to do because now I am the way that I am as an adult. Um, but no, I remember watching it, and my sister and I to this day we'll still watch, like we'll be like we're in a Mean Girls mood, and so we'll watch it again, and it, like you said, it still holds up. Like it's still fundamentally such a good movie because the comedy is there, the acting is there, and it all just still holds up. But like you said, there are some jokes in the original one where you're like, if we tried to do that now, it would not fly the way it did in the early 2000s. But
I
yeah,
didn't
no,
I didn't
it's an iconic one.
but I didn't realize how many times like Regina says retarded in the original
Yes.
one. I was like, "Oh shit." But I was like, "Wait, okay." I was like, "Yeah, so I mean, and Tina Fey like has talked about it like in interviews where she goes, it was kind of nice to come back and have that gift of coming back to that script and kind of hiding things or changing things that obviously do not work today or problematic and being able to, like fix those things up and have like a second, well, technically like third chance to tell these stories. But I really applaud her with how she's been able to kind of do something different in each iteration and add something to it and
Right.
give kind of a little bit some new perspectives on this story and kind of how it relates at the time that she releases this new iteration.
Exactly. And I think yeah, as like a writer and a creative, I can't imagine like having that many times to be able to not redo something but to change it up for different generations. So like yeah, the early 2000s is different was different from like 2017 when the musical came out, and then now in 2024 when the movie musical is out. Jesus Christ, take a shot every time we say like movie musical. My god. Like all that time passed between all three of these iterations, it is interesting to see what changes. So like in the grand scheme of from the movie to the musical, um, like I can imagine the challenge of thinking instead of it being a movie, like now it's a stage production. So how are we going to change it up? And not only that, it's also a musical. So like how do we propel the story through music, but also change it up where like musical fans and like theater goers will also appreciate it. So that's kind of a fun challenge, and I feel like everyone behind it did a good job in adapting the two from film to staged production. But yeah, I don't know. I
But I
kind of want to talk about. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
no, yeah, I was gonna say, but I think it all goes back to the testament of the original source material, you know, Queen Bees and
Yes.
Wannabes, that Tina Fey had that book and kind of getting that basis and that like we all have queen bees and wannabes in every generation at every school.
Mm-hmm.
It is works with something that you always have like mean girls, you always have popular kids. You will like that's something that I don't know, like, well, I don't know if anyone's gonna be able to dismantle that. That's just how it works like in school. So
Yeah. I mean, you have that in school, but I feel like also in adulthood, you have that at the workplace. You have that literally everywhere. There's always a mentality of like, yeah, like you said, like a hierarchy of people of the mean girls and the nerds or the people who don't really fit in. Like, yeah, you'll have that in like every environment, which kind of sucks, but like it's kind of the way that life is. And I'm glad that you had mentioned that Tina Fey got inspiration from that book, because I don't think a lot of people realize that. And I didn't realize that either until a couple of years ago when I was scrolling on something, or like on the internet, and I had was watching an interview, and yeah, she had mentioned that she had read the book, and I was like, "What the fuck?" I'm like, for the longest time I thought Mean Girls was, of course it's an original, you know, script, but I thought it was just like an idea that Tina Fey had, and wrote a movie about it, but I didn't realize it was a book, which I think is interesting. And if I'm not mistaken, that book is like, let me look it up, but I'm pretty sure it's like a guide of how to like raise a teenage daughter. It's like one of those books. Which
Yeah,
I
because
find
it's
very
not like
interesting
the
that
book has
she,
these character names, or like she came up
right,
with
right,
like the lines
exactly.
and all that stuff. It's like the foundation of, hey, like how to survive, high school,
Right.
and how to survive these type of crowds.
Yeah, yeah, it's helping your daughter survive cliques, gossip, boys, and the new realities of the girl world, which iconic. But oh, there's a third edition. It's $15. Okay. Good thing I don't have a teen daughter. But yeah, so I find that very interesting that that was like her inspiration for the movie. Um, but yeah, that's pretty iconic. But
I I I do find it funny though that she's recently said, because like the fact, like we just now learned like that Glen Coco is like her brother's friend's name, and that she like wrote all these characters' names based on people she knew. Like Damien was like her gay like best friend in high school, like had all these names because she's like, I didn't think this script was gonna get like picked up, so I just wrote it like just to write it. And then you're like, and now like the cultural impact that it's had, that people are like on shirts like you go Glen Coco, that people use these lines and say these people's names like
yes.
we all know them, which is kind of such a powerful thing, that like you can say, oh, on Wednesdays we were pink, and people just know, and people who don't even watch the movie still know about it. Like the fact that it blew up so much like in pop culture and had such an imprint and still has today, like like Fetch and all that stuff that people still bring up. And I'm trying to think, what was the movie that was playing when I saw the new movie. There was a trailer, and they even like re-put like Mean Girls stuff, like Fetch in it and stuff like that for the trailer, because obviously they must have like fixed it up for it to play like right before the movie. And I was like, see, they even know who they're marketing to right now.
Yeah, it is very interesting of that whole impact, and how like all the memes on like October 3rd will come out, and like October 3rd is like National Mean Girls Day. Which I think is so interesting, and so fun to like see how like every year that goes by, there's like more and more people that will get into Mean Girls, which I think is so fun. But also like people still dress up as these characters for Halloween, and it's been how many fucking years since the original movie came out, and like you said, people are still quoting it, and like it's, I don't know, it's pretty awesome to see. And definitely, yeah, it's a huge cultural thing. And even though I don't wear pink, but it's still iconic.
But like October, I have to say that's one of the best movies in cinema history. Is when it goes on October 3rd. He asked me what day it is. It was October 3rd. Like
It's
the way,
October
because,
3rd.
but I have to say, like the way that she played comedy with having, that voiceover, with
Yeah.
having Katie's voiceover and playing with, like the scene and like exactly like the timing with all of that stuff played so well. um which we'll get into, of course, like adapting it to musical in the sense like, hey, they don't have, a voice in your head, a voiceover, but they can break out into song, right, and consider that, even though they did a mix of both in the musical on Broadway, of having voiceover and having musical numbers. But yeah, there's something about her voiceover that's really, that's works so well and is so funny, because you do want to hear her inner thoughts of like what is going on, what is she thinking while she's interacting with all these people for, coming to school for the first time.
Wait, let me back up and go to the cultural impact. that we were talking about before. Also, when Ariana Grande's "Thank You Next" video came out, it's literally a whole entire fucking music video taking everything from Mean Girls, like all the iconic moments of Mean Girls, into her music video, which I think was so fun. And I don't know, that just shows like even more of like the cultural impact that the movie has. Is like now artists are like taking things from the movie and making it their own in a way. But yeah, I forgot to mention them when we were talking about the cultural impact. Um, but that just popped back into my brain. But do we want to talk about the cast of the original? Because they are incredibly iconic people. And yeah, Rachel McAdams, iconic as Regina George. Nobody will ever top, of course, nobody will ever top her performance. Also, the wig, she wears a wig in that. That's not like her hair dyed or anything. That's a wig. And I'm
That's a
like,
good ass wig.
damn, that wig must be heavy as shit. Yeah, I'm like, damn. I didn't know that until like a couple years ago, and I was like, wait a minute. Also, I was like a child when I watched the movie, so bitch, shit flew over my head. Okay, so I didn't realize until I was older and researched and found out it was a wig, and I was like, damn, that wig was probably more than the budget of that movie. Jesus Christ, because that wig looked real good.
But that cast, like, first of all, that was Amanda Seyfried's first movie. She's like 17 years old. So she, like, even though you forget, if Rachel McAdams was old, like, not that old, but like
She was
well
older.
over the
Mm-hmm.
age. Yes, she was the oldest one. Then you had Lacey, who I think will no one will ever top that Gretchen performance. I don't think like the way that she became Gretchen. And then you had Lindsay Lohan, who was still she was I think like 6 and 7. I know she was still in school while they were filming, and just all of them. First of all, even why is her name Lizzie Kaplan as Janice, like everybody, and I think because it was such like a small like hey like movie they didn't know at the time, and because they didn't have that pressure where they're just like hey like they had a bunch of fun making it, you could tell like, and I think that also worked with this new one, that you could tell how much fun they had and it really showed off screen, and you like wanted to be a part of this like clique, even though they were like mean, you were just like damn, like they seem like they're still having fun though and having a good time. But everybody I just committed so well, and they didn't make it like a caricature of this like oh I'm playing the mean girl, you know, like they were like I'm playing this kind of like well-rounded character that seems so believable, and everybody committed and added little like mannerisms and things that you believed wholeheartedly they were these people. And like the way that Amanda Seyfried plays Karen, like where she has to play like dumb, but like you believe it, but you're also like she's so sweet and so kind, and like even the way like they wrote and acted that character just shows you that like it wasn't kind of just like these stereotypes. It was like no, we're going to make these actual human beings. And I think that's what made it work so well, that everyone really just like committed and had this chemistry that you wanted to attend North Shore. You're like damn, like okay, this school. And even the extra characters where they all say their lines about Regina George, or like, you
Oh
know,
my
from the
god.
Burn book, like even them, like everybody just like committed and gave it, that you were like, I believe it. Like I believe all of you. Like I'm not seeing Lindsay Lohan, I'm seeing Katie Heron, I'm seeing like all of
Right.
these characters, instead of like, oh yeah, I know who plays it. Like, yeah, they just their commitment to the role and
Or
also how
and
much they appreciate it still today shows you like they gave it like the respect and love that it deserved.
yeah, or another. I mean, you're yeah, bitch. Words. Um, or Tim Meadows as Principal Duvall is such an iconic character. And when I feel like when you think about Mean Girls, at least for me, there's not just one character that like you think about. I guess you could think like Regina George, you know, or Katie Heron, or but for me, like I think about all the characters. You know what I mean? Like there's not one character for me that stands out the most within the movie where you're like, I think about every one of them. Principal Duvall, Miss Norbury, Damon, everyone. I'm like, yeah, that's all. That's Mean Girls to me. It's all of these characters, and like you said, even the all the like extras where like there's a whole montage of like what is it like I saw Regina George wearing army pants and flip flops, so I bought army pants and flip flops. Like all those characters, like I don't know, they're all just so like funny and iconic and like you remember all of them. I don't know. It's rare for me to like watch a movie where like I can like remember every single character because they're written so well and they're also performed so well that I don't know. Also, I just loved that we had some of the OGs come back for the movie musical, like Tim Meadows and Tina Fey, and they like reprise their roles. Or you have like Ashley Parker who plays the French teacher, and she played Gretchen on Broadway. Like it's so like interconnected and intertwined that like I don't know. It makes you like a little. It makes you happy because you're like, oh damn, yeah, everyone's like coming back to do it again. Um, but yeah, no, the original movie is just so it's so iconic and it's done so well. And like I said, you can watch it literally anytime. I will watch it at random moments of the year and be like, yeah, I want to watch this movie. And it weirdly like makes you like so nostalgic and it makes me feel good, even though like half the movie they're being really mean and like backstabbing each other. But I'm like, yep.
Okay, I was gonna say this. I just want it set for the record. Nothing will ever like be like. There's nothing like the OG Mean Girls movie. There's nothing like it. Does not mean I can't love and be just as obsessed with the new one because I am and I really enjoyed it and loved it. But like I will never say like it was better than the OG because I think like in a way like they both complement each other and they both give us even like more additions to these characters and we get to live in this world one more time and give us like I don't know like so I just want it set for the record that like when I talk about the movie musical and how much I liked it and da 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 da, like nothing will compare to the OG and the love that I have for the OG. Like there's nothing like watching that movie for the first time, like getting introduction to those characters. There's nothing like that first time, like the way it was made, the how much impact it had. Like yes, let's just hold on to that, but that does not diminish this new movie. No, because I
Yes,
mean that's the
let's
question that
remember
people would be
that
asked.
because
No, because people just like, "Oh, do you
yeah,
like it
which
better than the
it's also
original
like
and stuff?" Like, for me, it's kind of hard. Like, there's parts that I like that I'm like, "Oh, I really like this," because I mean, at the end of the day, I love musicals. I love movie musicals. So it's like the fact that I got Mean Girls with fucking musical numbers. It's like wow, 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 you know. So it's like for me, I love them for like the same, but like for different reasons now because. But at the end of the day, we all still like Mean Girls, and that's what we need to remember.
right. No, I totally agree with you, and it's good to like point that out in the beginning too, because yeah, like you said, nothing's ever gonna top the original. There is like it's like a what am I? It's a canon event for everyone to watch the OG Mean Girls for the first time, and it will like significantly impact anyone who watches it the first time because it's so like I'm gonna keep saying iconic because it's such an iconic movie and it's so I don't know, it's so well done and like for me it's very nostalgic and I have a lot of memories tied to the OG Mean Girls. But yeah, the movie musical, I don't like all the hate it's getting and we'll get into it once we talk about the movie musical that it's getting because like you said, I really enjoyed it. And also people have to remember that it's a totally different it's a different type of movie. It's a movie musical, so it is of course going to be different than the original. Because it's a different type of medium. And I love the original and I love this one. Um, because we see a little bit more of some of the characters in an intimate way because the story's being told through music, and I feel like um music is a medium that you're able to be a lot more vulnerable with than words sometimes.
Oh, I was gonna say I will add to this, like, it's true because the music lets us hear the inner thoughts. Like, for instance, someone gets hurt, where Regina's like, "You guys don't think I'm human," like, really explores it, and I think because most people are watching this with no closed captions, no subtitles, sometimes you miss the lyrics, and then other people are like, "Why are they singing?" Like, because y'all don't know how to use your phone for research, that you knew this was a movie
Y'all don't know how to
musical.
use Google and look it up and educate yourself, but that's
Yeah,
a whole other thing.
um but, like, you hearing like, if you really listen to the lyrics, I think you would appreciate more that aspect of what they got to, like, tell you and what they gotta, like, dive into the characters, like, "What's Wrong with Me?" Perfect song for Gretchen Wieners. Really opens up her character development, like, "Oh my gosh, is it me? Is it her?" Like, you know, her image of herself and, who she wants to be. I mean, my favorite is "Sexy" from Karen's song from the
Ah,
musical, and I love the what they did in the movie. So it's like you get to see them in a different way, and they get that type of spotlight where they get to sing that song, and they kind of get to introduce you more to who they are. So I think you have to, like, sometimes the people I'm like, "Come on, just listen intently, and if you like these characters, they're
yeah.
giving you more." Like, and they're not contradictory to the characters that you know. It's not like you're like, that's sad. They wouldn't do that. You're like, "Oh my gosh, like, wow, like, we're really diving into this and that." So I think having that addition to this back into cinema, since we got it already when they adapted it for the theater, for the stage.
Yeah, let's segue to the Broadway musical, and then we'll get to the movie musical. Sorry, there's a lot of facets we want to like touch on in this one because there are like multiple iterations of it. So the Mean Girls musical came onto Broadway in 2018. It was at the August Wilson Theater. I didn't see it on stage. It was on tour and was here up in Playhouse in Cleveland a couple months ago. Um, I unfortunately didn't get to go see it. I wanted to, but shit happened and I wasn't able to. Um, but the thing that I found really interesting about the musical was that a musical adaptation was in the works like in 2013, which I didn't know. Also, how long it fucking takes for musicals to get anywhere is crazy. It takes so much fucking time that I'm like, damn, y'all really like power to you because y'all work really, really fucking hard. Um, but and then another thing that I found really fun, really interesting while researching was they had announced that a musical of Mean Girls was coming out on October 3rd of 2016, which I find so fun and so like on brand that on October 3rd they were like, "Hey, there's a whole nother like type of Mean Girls thing coming out and it's a musical adaptation," which they knew. That marketing team was like, no, we're announcing it on October 3rd. Oh, yeah, the fucking musical had 833 performances. That's insane. I can't imagine doing 833 performances of anything really, but to do for a musical, that's crazy. That's insane. But it closed March 11th, 2020, due to the pandemic, which really sucks because Renee only had like a couple months of her run as Regina. Which, sorry, I cut you off.
No, you're good. I mean, and I'll also add that, like, Sabrina Carpenter was then gonna replace and be Katie, but
Yes, yep.
because of pandemic, she really not didn't really get to. I don't even, maybe she did, like, a few, but she didn't do anything, like, long enough to be, like, or
So
even really
she
make her debut.
Yeah, it was scheduled for her to do 14 weeks, at least from the research that I did with like Playbill and Broadway.com and everything. She was scheduled to do 14 weeks of a performance in 2020. Now, I don't know if she did all of it, obviously due to the pandemic. But I think she did a decent chunk of it, and I saw some clips of her playing as Katie, and she did a great job. I'm a not a huge fan of Sabrina Carpenter, but I do love. There's some songs on her "Emails I Can't Send" album that I really fucking love, and I was never a huge fan of her until recently. Um, but yeah, no, yeah, she had a run on Broadway, and then Renee Rapp. who's an icon, who plays Regina George in the movie musical that just came out, had her run from 2019 to 2020 as Regina on Broadway. She was fucking 19, y'all. She was 19. Let that sink in real quick. 19 when she was on Broadway as Regina George. What was I doing at 19? Barely graduating high school, bitch. That's what I was doing when I was 19. Like, what? Like, what do you mean, bitch? Anyway, she's iconic. I love her. I've watched a lot of her interviews, so I'm like on a Renee Rapp deep hole. Like, all I can think about is Renee Rapp. And it's unhealthy how much I watch her interviews. But I love her so much. And her album, Snow Angel, come on now. I listen to it on repeat, and for whatever reason, I forget how good it is because I do take a break, and then I listen to it again, and I'm like, damn, this shit holds up. I was like, this album, bitch, is too good. Like, whatever drug she put in this album is I need it. But yeah, also, yeah, in my notes, and this is accurate, I wrote, and for some reason, Cameron Dallas played Aaron Samuels for 1 month. Like January 14th, 2020, he played Aaron Samuels, which I remember when that shit came out, like on Broadway News, Broadway.com and everything. I was kind of shook because I was like, what? I was like, why? He has sing, like, he, what? I was like,
But he's not
okay, interesting
famous. Like,
choice.
he's not a famous influencer who sings. That's what
Right.
also was like weird. And also, because I watched a clip the other day of him on it where he's supposed to like sing and he didn't sing at that part. And I think they probably were like, okay, we'll just have you sing where we need you to sing because he clearly, yeah, I don't know what happened where somebody lost a bet or something and then he just ended up appearing on it. But a lot of the original cast played their parts for a very long time. Like Gray Hansen,
Yes, they
who
had long
originated
runs.
Damien,
Yep.
played it, as well as Erica, I think her name is, who did Katie. And then it's also cute that the boy who played Aaron and the girl who played Katie did end up getting married, and that's how they met. That's always cute when they meet.
That is the cutest fucking thing. I love that. But
But
yeah,
but Tina Fey
yeah,
came for
Kate
them.
Rockwell.
I was gonna say Tina Fey did
Why?
come for them though, because she was like, I hate dealing with co-stars who date each other, but she's like, but you guys, I
Mm.
accept you guys because it's true. Like it does, like
I accept.
she's been working for a
I
long
accept.
time, but like especially when you're like, oh, we're dating each other, and you're like, is this gonna fuck our production up because you decided to date each other, or is it gonna be like, you know, work out or whatnot? But it ended up working out so far. So
Let me give you a beautiful example of it working out, and that is Eva Noblezada and Reeve Carney. Like that is like so cute. I know we're not talking about Hades Town. I know we're talking about Mean Girls, but they are the cutest fucking couple, and I fully believe that when they performed together, because they both are not on Broadway anymore in those roles, which they played those roles for years. Like they were there on the West End and then Broadway. Like their run of that show was insane. Um, but yeah, I feel like with them, oh god, they're such a good example and they're so cute together. And if anything ever happens, I'm gonna cry and I'm not gonna believe in love. But like I believe that their relationship together made the story of Orpheus and Eurydice like that much more like heartbreaking. Especially at the end. If you haven't seen, I'm not gonna spoil anything. But like all of it, it just I don't know. They do it so well, and I love them. But we're not talking about Hades Town, so I'm gonna stop talking about Hades Town and go back on track. But no, Kate Rockwell, who played Karen on Broadway, so good. Yeah, you mentioned sexy. I literally before we started recording, I was playing the sound, which is a problem. I've been playing the soundtrack way too often, and I need to get it out of my fucking head, but I can't seem to stop playing it. But her in Sexy is so funny. I did watch a bootleg, don't tell anyone, on YouTube of the production with I believe the majority of the original cast. Like this is when Ashley had left, who originated Gretchen, and then Taylor, who originated Regina was replaced by Renee. And so those two were different, but everyone else I believe was the original cast. Um, and it was interesting to see like the staged production of how they did certain scenes and then comparing it to the movie musical, which we'll get into right after this. But there's nothing like a stage production. Like it's so, I don't know. I love live theater and I will forever be a tried and true theater kid. And so um yeah, the stage production is interesting. I love there's certain aspects in the stage production that me as a theater kid will geek out about. Like the projections were really cool, the choreography was fun. I really love that there's that section of like in the beginning where Katie is um what's it called? Like in the movie where there's a montage where like the teachers are like giving her a hard time and like Coach Carr is
Mhm.
like you can't go to the bathroom, blah, blah, blah.
Mhm.
In the stage production they're all in their desks, but then they move and they like the desks are on wheels, and so it's I don't know, it's like that shit makes me geek out so bad because I do come from live theater background. So all that kind of stuff just like I don't know, it makes me so happy, and I always love to kind of like dissect and be like, okay, that's like that's cool choreography, that's this, or like I don't know, it was really fun to see like a bootleg of it. Again, sorry. To see how they did the stage adaptation, and the whole like when she gets hit by a bus, and you just hear the sound and everything like a blackout, and you don't. I don't know. It was interesting.
Okay. No, I'm just kidding. No, their use of screens is very they did a great job, and like how memey it is too. And I think the musical really focuses on social media because obviously in 2004 there was no social media. Also, Tina Fey wrote it a lot about her experiences in the late 80s too, like a lot of like the interactions in the lunchroom where Regina's like, "Oh, you're really pretty," and like, "Oh, like, thank," and like, "Oh, so you agree you're really pretty." Like, that was something that actually happened to Tina Fey, like, in school, so it's like she pulled in different stuff, and then in the musical, very much focused a lot on social media and how that affects, and you also had a little bit different of Aaron Samuel's story about how I feel like they really made him a lot more relatable and had a lot more in common with Katie. And the fact that like you find out that he's lying about where he lives to go to North Shore, and that he ends up, getting found out because of the burn book, and then he has to be homeschooled just like, Katie was, and that he also is like smart at math, and you actually see him like be good at it and like the stupid with love like musical numbers. So it's interesting the way they played him and that relationship. And then you also have Janice and Damien being these narrators throughout, which is very funny. Like I thought that worked really well, you know, um throughout it, to like kind of break up and be like, hey, we're going to explain this story and tell you.
Which also, if I can
And
quickly cut you off, that also works with I think what they did in the original film with the voiceover. It works with having Janice and Damon, what the fuck, Damien be the narrators, because that kind of breaks that fourth wall, where you feel connect. It feels like the voiceover that they did, and they changed it to have them be the narrators, which I think works really well for um the stage production, and it makes sense too to have them kind of be the ones to narrate, because then obviously they do like teach Katie about everything, so you're like, oh, so they're kind of the ones that know everything that goes on in the school because they are loners and like only have each other. So it works really well with that, in my opinion. But sorry to cut you off.
no, 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 you're good. And then it works because it's like they were the ones to show around Katie. They're the ones who are going to show us, the audience, around, as we're also new, or somewhat familiar with North Shore. And it is no the montage where every time the bell rings and they like change, and how somebody, in the crowd comes up and is the teacher for the next class. And then so for me, because I love Tina Fey and they're like a musical, da 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 da, like I was watching stuff of people talk about it when they saw it, like in, previews before it came to Broadway in DC. And then I like was like, waiting to hear like the music. Like I literally the day it came out, like played the songs and were like listening intently to hear everything. And to be honest, God, like I have a secret
Anyway,
to tell
she's
you. Um,
she's gossiping in my ear, but go ahead.
yeah, she's gossiping. Is there were first listening to it, I was like, oh, I was not expecting this. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, this is interesting because everyone very much has their own distinct styles, which makes sense. Everybody's their own character, and sometimes like that's just high school, which is a bunch of random people, and then you're like, how are they friends? You're just like, you know. Um, there were some songs that immediately like I'd Rather Be Me, Janice's solo song
Iconic.
will be my all-time favorite, and that was my immediate favorite. I was like, this shit I
Me
vibe
too.
with.
Yep.
Fuck to How Girls Should Behave. I said yes, like this is an
Period.
anthem that we
Raise your right
needed
finger,
for
yes,
sure.
bitch.
Yes, I like I really did like Revenge Party. Like, but there were some songs like I'm gonna be honest, like some of like World's Burn or like that where it was so high, like where I was like, okay, like I don't know, like just listening to it, especially just listening to it and not knowing exactly how everything like, because sometimes they do give you the audio and you're like, okay, that's going into this song, okay, but you don't hear like what's in between. So then I was like, okay, and then I was like, Stupid with Love, okay, that's a little, but it's like there's funny bits. But I was like, okay, like I wasn't like hugely get off. And then the more I listened to it, and then thank you to all the people who put bootleg because yeah, I never went to New York to watch it. So I remember like immediately when I saw it come online, I was like, it was like 1 a.m. I was like, I have to watch it because it's gonna probably be flagged. And I was like, I have to
And
watch it
taken
right now.
down. I have to go now.
Yeah. I
Yep.
was like, okay, here we go. We're staying up for another 2.5 hours so I can watch this. And then I was like, oh dang, like that's really cute. And I got to appreciate the songs more. But because again, it was for a musical, they're playing to the back of the house. Some of the music at first did not vibe with me, and I was like, oh, and I was like,
See,
I really
that's
wanted to fucking love this. I really so like I had these high expectations, and it took me a while to then appreciate the character, appreciate kind of the style they're doing. That I was like, okay, like now that I've seen it as a whole, I can come back and appreciate it because yeah, well, yeah, be honest, like in the beginning, I was like,
it
not
does
my favorite
take.
musical of all time. I was like, okay.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, and I'm gonna piggyback on what you said with like sometimes when you hear a cast recording for the first time, yeah, there are certain songs where you're like, how does that go into this one? Or like, I don't like the sound of this one. You know, you form your own opinions on just a cast recording. But then again, thank you to people who put bootlegs on the internet. You guys are the real ones. I don't know how y'all do that. If I could never. So y'all salute to
I'd be
you.
like, and drop. Be
Like
like,
I would be too
yeah,
scared,
no.
bitch.
Yeah, no,
Like
absolutely.
I'm not recording.
No, and then they got pretty good angles. That's what I don't understand because
Yes.
I tried filming something that was like like it wasn't like a theater thing like that, and I got nervous where then I was like, where they're like zooming in, and I'm like, how the fuck are you zooming in and knowing you're getting her
Yeah.
face in frame?
Yeah, bitch. And I'm like, are you not scared of getting like blacklisted and not allowed to come to Broadway shows anymore? Like that shit freaks me out. So thank you. God bless. But then there is something different of seeing either it live or kind of illegally with a bootleg. Where you see like how it all does work together and then how it propels the story forward. And I think seeing it performed yeah adds to it, but also sometimes I think it was what is the song? Stop. That one. For that one is fun. I love that one. Damon. Period.
Yeah, I love that
Damon.
Damien's character is a
If I
show
say
tuning one
Damon
and
one more
super.
time,
That he's a show tuning
Damien.
and he's very Broadway, where I think it
Yes, the
works, like
tap
his music.
dances. The
Like, yeah, like a cautionary tale, like super cute opening, like his stop or like where do you belong? And like, like
mm-hmm.
that was a cute way of how did they elevate these scenes with music to tell us like and I always love the fact that Jeff Richmond, Tina Fey's husband, like because he's a musician, he always does her music, like for everything that she does. And I'm also impressed with how he changed the music for the Mean Girls musical movie.
Oh yeah.
Like, too, like, I applaud him for that, and like them realizing that yes, they wanted to hold to like the fact that not a lot of people got to see the musical, and they were really proud of it and the stuff that they did, and how they wanted to, because I mean, I just watched Waitress the musical where they filmed it. You also have Hamilton where they filmed
Mhm.
these musicals, but it's not the same way as playing it for a camera. You know, like you're just watching somebody with a better quality camera than the bootlegs, and like, you know, right, and like you can move around and get these different angles of the people, but there's something about them coming back and playing it for a cinematic experience and really having fun with the camera and the movements and the staging. um but then I watched recently, like 2 days ago, because I was like, I forgot, because it's been so many years since I watched the musical. And then my brother, he watched it because it came here on tour. And so he had seen it more recently. And then when we watched the movie on Wednesday, he was like, "Oh yeah, like, oh yeah, they also don't sing that in the musical too. They changed it on tour stuff." And I was like, "Damn, I need to go watch the musical again, especially for this, to remember everything that, like, oh, what did they bring?" And I think I watched like February 2020. It had Renee rap as Regina, and a lot of the lines were similar to the
Dude,
new
yeah.
movie.
Mhm.
But then it makes sense, because then I think, because Tina Fey wrote the book, wrote the lines for it, is in theater, you're doing, how many shows did they have? Right? Over 800. I can write a joke, listen to the audience react and go, that shit does not land. Then refix and say, hey, tonight we're gonna try this. And I think that's why, like, because then I watched the movie, I was like, damn, some of these lines are like so funny, so good. And then when I watched the musical again, I was like, oh wait, like a lot of Miss Norberry's lines are the same ones that Tina Fey does in the new movie, where you're like, okay, so she had practice to be like, okay, this shit works, this shit is funny, which was a nice upper hand that she had to say what worked from the movie, what worked from this, look at both of those scripts, and like, right, and the fact that she still managed to add new stuff too
Right.
that she hadn't already done, kind of is a testament to her as a writer, because like
And it's
some of this
still
stuff you're like, how are you going to excite us, right? How are you going to show us something we have literally not seen already with two iterations of the same thing?
right, exactly. Yeah, yeah, yeah. There's my favorite one that she added for the musical was when Principal Duval is like reading through the burn book or whatever, when Regina gives it to him, he's like, "Oh fuck, what is her name?" Like Vanessa Hamilton fills her inhaler with vodka. Does that really work? Like, there's things that are added that it it's still, yeah. Like you said, it really is a good testament to Tina Fey and her writing, where she's still able to make these jokes they're new and they're funny, but then also you have the jokes of, you know, from the original that still stand, like um oh hi, do you want to buy some drugs, like like there's some that like stayed and still are funny, but then the ones that she adds, you're like, oh okay, because you don't want, like, at least for me, if there's like multiple adaptations of something, like, I don't want it to be so similar to the original one. So I'm going to talk about the Broadway musical and the movie musical. Like, I know a lot of people were upset about certain things for the movie musical, which I get. Like, you know, the Mean Girls musical could be people's like favorite one, and they really really love it, and I totally get it. Um, but also, I wouldn't want like a copy and paste of it. You know what I mean? Because it, you know, I don't know, it's also a whole different medium. Like, this is film, this is a movie, and so there's only so much you can do in the grand scheme of a movie. And same goes for a stage production. Like, they're gonna be differing a little bit just because of the sense that they are two different types of like media. You've got, you know, live, and then you've got a live stage production, and then a movie. um but I think, like, it's, at least for me, like, it's okay to change things up, because if I wanted to watch the Broadway version, I would watch the Broadway version. Whereas, like, do you get what I'm trying to say? Does any of that make any sense?
No, yeah, it does. And I think what's nice is now you have three versions that if you're like, I'm in the mood for a movie musical, I'm in the mood just for a
Right.
movie, or I'm in the mood for full on musical. And it's true, especially when the track list came out for this movie musical, there were a few
Mm-hmm.
songs cut from the original, which makes sense because Broadway, like, there are a few reprises. And it's true, like, there was like Fearless was cut, Stop was cut, Where Do You Belong was cut. Also, in the
Mm-hmm.
song Meet the Plastics, where it's like, My name is Regina. That song, they also
Yeah,
cut Karen's introduction and Gretchen's
and
introduction. They
Gretchen,
definitely
which
trimmed
is
down
something,
songs from it, which
which
I
is
wish they
something
did
that,
because I like those and I wish they got more like that.
but also I
But
don't understand why it did become like a Regina solo, which upset me because yeah, Meet the Plastics, like the that whole dynamic of all three of them, you see how it works. Like, so if you didn't know about the Broadway musical, if you didn't know about the movie, and you watched the movie musical, I feel like you're not getting exactly what their dynamic is as the trio. Like Gretchen's little she has a line in the song where she's like, if Regina's the sun, then I'm a disco ball. Like, there's, I don't know, there's like lines in there that really show you who these characters are. And then you've got Karen with her whole like, my hair is shiny, like my skirt is tiny. Like, it's just so funny and it fits all these characters so well. So I was a little upset that they cut that in the movie musical where it just became a Regina solo essentially. But and I'm also upset that they didn't put whose house is this? I love that
re-
song. Underrated.
no, really, no. After that song could be cut for sure, but it was also like,
No,
but
but
it
I
made
just I
sense
don't
for that,
know.
like for musicals, but like for that, I think it would have been like, okay, it's too many songs. And the fact that people are already complaining, like, if you think about like every major kind of scene had a song, like, I don't think if they would have added those songs, also would have been like so much where you're like, okay, like, we're trying to keep it in a time limit. Also,
Yeah,
their budget
I
was
can
less.
understand.
Their budget was also less, and the fact that they also shot this in a month
In a
is
month,
very
yeah.
impressive. And pretty much it seemed like the one location where they had everything run out of that Catholic boys' school that got shut down that they were at, where they filmed everything in New Jersey. So it's like the fact that I will have to say with the movie musical, I'm so impressed with how many good musical numbers they had, because sometimes in a movie musical you're kind of like, okay, you have like two maybe, and then you kind of have like the slow ones, but like every one
Yeah.
you're like, damn, that was good. And I think also, if you don't know, if you're not familiar with the songs, like, it made it more exciting for me to watch when I knew they were like, yes, revenge party's coming, let's go. Like, you get more
Mhm.
excited
Mhm.
and you kind of like sing along because you know it. So I think for people who aren't as familiar, yeah, I don't think you'll have as much of like maybe a love for the movie musical, because you're not like, you don't have that nostalgia
Right.
feeling of like, yes, it's playing, let's go. Like, they're gonna say, these lines that you're already familiar with. But what else had you said that I was like, oh,
No,
with
I
them cutting the solos, it was a good mix between the original and the musical, in the sense that they introduced that we didn't see like Regina with Gretchen and Karen, and they kind of already gave us a simple introduction, and then it was like they really focused on Regina and Katie, in the sense of like her becoming a clone of Regina, and how she was so enticed by, like,
that's
Regina, and
true.
they
Okay,
really made
yeah.
it solo on it, like, because then you think like the fact that towards this is all spoiler, everybody knows this, spoiler for this whole podcast, is when she goes back in that same pose and kicks Regina out because she's wearing sweatpants and Katie's looking just like her, like with the pose where she's singing back, she's like, rules are rules, Regina. So it kind of plays in the sense of, okay, it's really Regina on them, but I think like in the musical you did have a lot more Gretchen and Karen, like, popping up in more songs. You also had Gretchen like trying to help Katie. You also had like Katie hating more on Gretchen, and that whole relationship with Gretchen trying to figure out like, why do people find me so annoying? So yeah, it's true in the way that like, oh wow, we had this great character development in the musical that we may not get in the movie musical.
I do agree with what you said now with the whole like Katie being entranced by Regina. Now that you mentioned it, that does make a lot of sense, and I do agree with that. So that's a good thing to point out because I didn't think of it that way when I saw it, but it makes sense. Um, but yeah, no, in the like you said, in the grand scheme of everything, like the fact that this show was shot in a month. You know how hard it is to fucking film a movie? It's a hard thing to do. You have hundreds of fucking people on your crew. Also, they have so many extras in certain scenes to get every like fucking applaud to them for doing it in a month. I don't think people realize that they only had a month and they'll criticize, certain things about the movie without knowing certain things, which again, people just need to educate themselves and do some research before they, talk shit about some stuff. No, it is very impressive with what they did. But I do have to say, there's one part in that movie that I don't understand why they decided to go with that. But in Revenge Party, um, there's that it cuts to what looks like a fucking GoPro on Katie. And I was like, why the fuck are we using. Like, why is it a go. Like, it looked so weird and it really did throw me off a little bit, so I would love to understand and know why it was that angle of her. That just really threw me off and I don't I
No,
don't know
I
why.
will have to I will have to say cuz I also heard this like I not a huge fan of like when people do portrait videos or when people do that shot where it's like on the like actor. Like I'm not, but surprisingly in the movie musical when they used all of the above, it didn't bug me actually. I was like, okay, that vibes like it makes sense why they're doing portrait to start with like cautionary tale and then filming the video and like first of all scene through where they go to Africa right after that and go through the garage and end in the
Yes.
garage like beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Like I cannot even with the camera movement and how they staged everything was like phenomenal. But
Yeah.
it makes sense why they went to it. Yes, it's such a cut thing, but Katie is becoming unhinged at that point. So it made sense that they just had it on her where she's literally like that and then you cut and then the girl's like this shaking with the candy cane because that is also what the girl's saying that she's like, no, no, like, like I watch a snake eat a cow. Like, no, that's it. Like, I'm coming for you. That it makes sense. Like, okay, how do we get this feel? And you would have not gotten that craziness feel if it was shot any other way. So the fact that it was like, I'm like unhinged. You better give me a candy cane because
It's
I'm
like some
about to ruin
Blair Witch
Regina's
shit,
life.
bitch.
No, yeah, literally. But it does where you get you're like, wait. And then you're like, okay, but
It
now
did
I
just
laugh
really
every time
throw
I
me
see
off.
it. But
Yeah,
I like look forward
there
to
I
it
was like,
now. Cause then when I watched it the second time, I
no,
was like,
now that
yes,
I
yes. Where's the unhinged moment? Let's go, let's go. Cause in the musical, she
no, I
like yells
totally
like no 3 times and stuff, and she's like, and she really like yells it. So also I heard for the revenge party, which I love, I fucking love revenge party, is they were inspired by Lisa Frank. Do you know Lisa Frank?
no, what the who is that? What the fuck?
She's
What?
in the early 2000s. She made like kids stuff that was like neon animal, like velvet. Like look
Oh,
up Lisa
bitch,
Frank.
yes. Yes, yes. This shit.
But they obviously were a lot more
Why
like
the fuck were they
pastel.
inspired by
They did. That's what Ali E said, and I was like, "Bitch, I'm here for that. That makes sense." I also love that they added that, like, they would put her remains in a bag and they actually had like them there acting, were sawing her in half and stuff. Like how much fun to be like that. The main people got to be extras in other parts, and I do like for Apex Predator, that's originally sung by Janice and Katie, but I like that it was because you said like we lost some of Damien's solo songs that they made Damien sing Apex Predator, and it was a lot more like them warning Katie than Katie realizing like well she did realize oh this is Apex Predator, but then they're like girl, and them singing because I mean yes and Gary, like, I loved the versions of her songs. I like that her "Stupid with Love" was a little bit more, like, actory than, like, big musical theater, but it's she probably was probably, like not the strongest singer. So I like that those songs that perhaps she, who knows, maybe like couldn't hit or whatnot, or like be able to e- divide it more evenly, that they gave it and like kind of swapped it around, and let Damien and Janice sing that one.
I loved Someone Gets Hurt. That was they had shot that in a
Everything
way
at
I
the
didn't think they
party.
would.
Oh
Sexy?
yeah.
Okay, bitch. Let's
Say
talk
yeah,
about
no.
her. Let's talk about Avantika. She is listen, I that whole the cast is great. The one that stood out to me was Avantika. I mean, Renee will always be up there for me because I love her music and I love her. But Avantika was someone that I did like because she's a lot more like Indian films that she's done, and she did I think this Disney show too. But this I think is what has like skyrocketed her. But I love her as a human being. Love her as a human being. She's incredible. I've watched so many of her interviews. She holds herself so eloquently, and I'm just in love with her. And her as Karen is amazing. And I've seen people talk about how like they like made her so dumb in the movie musical, but I don't think so. I think that fits. That fits Karen. That's just and if you watch the film again, like Amanda did the same thing. Like there's certain points where you're like, okay, bitch, you're like, what? But I think Avantika did an incredible job.
Well, because she was saying she was like so nervous to sing because dancing is her thing. So I'm glad, like, there is a
She's a
dance break in the
dancer,
musical
yeah.
too, but I loved that she really got to like dance when she's like, that's where I really felt like the most comfortable being able to dance. And the staging, like, of all that coming into the party, first of all, her starting and singing her like world peace. Yeah, that song is so funny and so perfect
Like
for Karen. And then you saw the
it's
little, like,
so
Regina
good.
outfit that they, like, showed when she was looking with the cutout boobs and, like, the little, like, Easter eggs there, and, like, I liked that when they would do social media stuff, like, with the wet look or whatnot, that, like, the the girls, like, chorus or whatever was also singing, like, on their phones and adding, like, I don't know, we haven't really seen it so much like that done with, like, a musical with social media, like, aspect, and, like, it worked, like, well, adding
Yeah,
that
to
aspect.
to piggyback off of you, because you had mentioned earlier when we were talking about the original Broadway, where they do talk a lot about social media and the effects social media can have, they really ran with it with the movie musical, which took me a little to get into because I'm not used to seeing shit in portrait and that kind of stuff. So it did throw me off for like 10 seconds, and then I had to like readjust my brain and be like, okay, it makes sense. But the whole montage of like like when Karen is recording her little thing, like the opening of Sexy was really fun. And she's like, "Oh my god, let me start over," and it like goes black and she comes back up. It was done really well, and I will say like with at the Jingle Ball, what the fuck, the talent
Winter
show,
talent show.
the Winter talent show, thank you, where Regina just eats shit, straight up fucking falls and eats shit, and then like it spirals into the whole like social media thing where like people are commenting and it's blowing up and the whole all of it works really well because you have to remember that it's 2024 and social media is a huge part of everyone's lives, it seems like, and like how shit can be like so blown out of proportion on social media and how shit spreads so fast that it really works for this movie in my opinion, especially that sequence of it. um but yeah, when she eats shit, I was like,
Yeah,
girl, I was like,
because
oh my god.
they don't eat, like, the only thing is, like, the music interrupting and them having to sing, and then in the musical, her, because she can't fit into her costume, which I thought was a nice note in the beginning, when she's come in, it's like, "Why is it not fitting me?" And then in the musical, her undies, like, her skirt rips and they
Like her
see her
skirt like
underwear, you
rips, yeah.
know? Yeah, so it's like I like this version where like Aiden, then even like which we saw in the trailer, like Coach Carr commenting on the TikTok, and I love that they had Megan the Stallion pop up in the social media thing where she
Yeah,
was like, "Oh," she's like, "Yes, Red is back," and then the fact that then she was like, "How do I get this off of my algorithm?" Like her, like
yes.
that was really cute and nice, and I have to say, like the editing on this was so impressive. Like even with Worldborn,
Yes,
where it's also
absolutely.
starts glitching and all that stuff through it, like was so like they really did a good job of like melding the two into each other, of like bringing in
Yeah.
social media. But no, and I want to say like Sexy was so good. It's such a bop. Like I would dance to that at the club.
Oh
Like for
yeah, bitch.
100%. You're like, yes, play Sexy. Don't even give me a remix. But Avantica's acting, like moments that stand out, like even the little straw thing, or like where she's so like she added stuff, because of course yes there were similar lines, but like I really liked in the gymnasium when all the junior girls go and she like stands up, she's like, I object. Like we never got to see her
Yes.
as vocal, like so vocal before. And I like that we got those bits of her, or like where she's telling of when Katie says she likes Aaron Sanders, she's like, no, no, bad, danger. Like her delivery
Danger,
of the
danger.
lines and the changing. Or I really like also the trust fall scene where the girl's talking about rainbows and it cuts to her and she's literally like tearing up, and you're like, damn girl, you just saw that whole scene because you're just so like, and and you're like, I so believe that that would be Karen in that talk. Like, oh my gosh, like I agree with her. Like, well, no, like she, all of her reactions were just so good. Like she really, again, like committed, and I liked like her version of Karen. Like she played it so well, and the fact that that girl's at Columbia, like she a smart girl, and I think it takes
Yeah,
like smart
she's
girls to be able to play dumb in such a respectful way. Like you're never like, oh, they're so stupid. You're like,
yeah.
okay, I see how she sees the world, you know. Um, but also I liked in the trust fall scene, right when the girls talking about like rainbows and cookies, I'm glad, which they did in the musical, that they gave the girl a backstory, because I was always like, why the fuck did that girl just, how did she get into the
That
school,
she's
you
there for a
know?
track meet.
Then you're like, oh, she's there for a track meet. That makes sense.
No, dead ass. Because in the movie, you're like, then what the fuck are you doing? Like, literally, what are you doing here? Do you not go to your school? Like, what are you? What do you mean? So yeah, no, I do like that they. She was here for a track meet. I do want to keep praising Avantika because she's just incredible. Um, for me, she stole like almost every scene that she was in because she did such a. I don't know. She did such a good job. And I was watching an interview with her on the. I think it was at the premiere or for something else, but she was talking about playing Karen. Um, and she made a really good point that I hadn't seen from like that perspective. But she had said like as a South Asian woman, you know, we typically play really smart. You know, there's a stereotype of playing really smart characters, and so she had said how liberating and how fun it was for her to play the opposite of that stereotype, to play somebody so like dumb and so, which I found really, I don't know. I was like, oh damn, girl. I was like, I never even like thought of that, and so I fell into a really deep rabbit hole of watching her interviews, and I have fallen in completely in love with her, and I hope that she has like so many more opportunities after this because she is very very good, and I loved her rendition of Karen, and yeah, no, danger, danger, like she just did such a good job. I love her so much. Very very good.
Like a lot of her lines made you like laugh out loud. Like, I mean, speaking for my own
Absolutely, yeah.
self, um and I will have to say, like, I think this cast, like, because they have such good interviews, because sometimes I won't watch, like, if, like, press stuff, or I'm like, okay, I've seen the same things, but, like, this cast has such good chemistry that it's so entertaining to watch their, like, castings. And also just Renee Rapp is always herself in every interview, so it's always entertaining.
uh,
But, like, and I love Renee Rapp, have been following her ever since, like,
mm,
and I, like, real quick on her performance, having seen, you know, the version that she gave when she was 19, and then her even talking about it, like, I'm really glad that she was able to come back as this character, because everybody, like, when she, I remember it was what, it was like a Broadway like account that, like, when they come and they sing the song, and I remember everybody was like, oh my gosh, her singing World Burn, everybody was like, this girl is so amazing, oh my gosh, like be on the lookout for this girl. But the way she played it, and I also think the way, like, I'm glad she got to come back as older, as more mature, as more confident in herself, because that's really like the version I think that works so well for this comedy, like for this musical movie. Like because you could tell she was a lot more like confident, playful in it, like than the Broadway version. Like just from what I saw, like I'm glad that she got to come back, and it was like a good amount of time till she came back to do that performance, because like she's so good at it, and like and I think she plays so well for the camera. Like she does those little
Yes.
things.
Mm-hmm.
Like I loved one of my favorite, like there's a lot of favorite moments that I like that I'll just keep replaying in my brain. Is when Tina Fey breaks out and it's like, wow. And then even Tina Fey,
Yeah,
like
but
you
she.
guys gotta watch it with like the eyes where Renee Rapp's like and like that was funny little breaks where it's like where everybody was so good, because that's what I remember from the original, having watched it recently, that when they would cut to everybody, like everybody had such good reactions, and I think this cast too, and the fact that they have such good chemistry. Like look at the end credits where they're all having so much fun, like
Yeah.
after like the thing that you knew that they all loved each other and had so much like respect, and like the way that they all like praise each other too and are like, no girl, you're so talented, or like what you brought to the role. And that's exactly like the same thing that made, I think, the 2004 one work again, with that cast and that chemistry and everybody just like loving and support, that you're like, you kind of almost, because this one ends right there at the dance and it doesn't end like the 2004 where it ends kind of like, oh, they kind of like learned their lesson. Like for me, I almost was like, shit, I would see these people again. Like, even though I know everybody's like needs to learn, but you were like, it was like contagious. Like you're like, damn, like this seemed like so much fun. I wouldn't mind like a Snyder cut. No, I'm just kidding. Of like of them, like their footage where you're like, dang, I can only imagine like the bloopers and stuff, because they just were having,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
a good time.
But no, yeah, I agree with you, and I want to piggyback on talking about Renee's performance. Yeah, after like seeing the bootleg and seeing like her rendition, because again, she was 19 when she was playing Regina, which is insane when you listen to her fucking vocals at 19. Bitch, save some fucking talent for the rest of us, okay? Jesus. And then seeing her come back and play Regina in the movie musical, yeah, you just see like a more maturity and change within her performance, but also like in the movie musical, I feel like Regina was so mean. Like there's certain points where the way that Renee delivers certain lines, we were like, it literally shut me up, bitch. I was like, oh my god. I was like, if somebody ever said that to me, I would be like Gretchen and go cry in the closet. Like, what the fuck? Like there is certain deliveries where I'm like, damn. I'm like, that was done really well. And yeah, she plays Regina different, of obviously differently than Rachel did in the 2004, but it still gives off that same, mean girl. And I think that the other thing that I really loved was in the movie musical we get a scene with Katie and Regina, like at the dance in the bathroom, which I loved so much. I loved seeing that interaction between the two of them. Granted, Renee, Jesus, Regina was fucking hopped up on like painkillers and super high, which was really funny. And yeah, that goes off with what you said with like their a 100% commitment to these roles. Was really fun to watch, but I liked seeing that um interaction between the two of them,
I
which was
will,
fun to see. And I
oh,
go
I would
ahead.
just add right there. So like I liked that they did it, and then come to find out they had that in the movie. It was a deleted scene in the original movie where they talked to each other at in the bathroom before, like
Oh.
yeah. So that's the thing, is you don't realize, you think like, oh wow, because I remember watching the musical the first time, like, oh, I like that they have that, like we didn't get that. And then it's like online and you look and it is like, so it's the fact is that Tina Fey like obviously wrote it and knew like, hey, no, this, I want to make sure this, kind of gets in, that we did have that moment. And Renee Rapp playing on drugs was so funny. Like, and even watching it a second time, like there was lines that like shit that still made me laugh. Like when she like tries to grab the piece of the crown and misses,
Oh my god, yeah.
or she goes where she's like, no, the bus hit me. Or like the bus pushed me or something, and you're like, yeah, that's what she's like, the bus pushed me. And then you're like, I can't. Like it was, yeah, like that she's so good at comedy, and she's so good also at playing like a stern bitch because she does have like
Mm-hmm.
a resting bitch face like I do. So it's like sometimes it doesn't even like like it probably just comes so easy to just be like, mm-hmm. Like everybody's so
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah,
annoying.
yeah. I also do want to say the thing that I really appreciate about this movie musical is the fact that these actors look like they're high schoolers. Like I was watching the movie and I was like, yeah, I'm like it doesn't feel like 30-year-olds playing. You know, sometimes you watch movies or shows and they have like 28-year-olds playing 16-year-olds and you're like, bitch, that's a substitute teacher right there. That is, like what do you mean that's the fucking 16-year-old? No way. But this they casted it so well that I fully like believed that they were these characters and playing these ages, which applaud to them because sometimes people don't do that and it really throws me off and it takes me out of it. Um but yeah, I just want to throw that out there and say that I appreciated that they all looked like they were still in high school. Also to piggyback off of that, sorry, I'm gonna keep talking. What is his name?
Jaquel?
Christopher.
Oh no.
No, I will get to him in a second. Christopher Briney? Is that
Barn?
how you say
Oh.
his last name? I'm so sorry if I'm saying your last name incorrectly, even though you won't see this. But
No, but his fans, he's got fans, so you better say it right.
oh god, I'm
No,
gonna get
real
choked out,
quick.
bitch.
When he came, like I feel I went like when I saw it both 2 times, I felt like I was in a crowd like where everybody like especially it was nothing like Sing It on Wednesday night, like the pre-screening, and that group was such a good group. Everybody's laughing and cheering, like the exact
Ugh,
reason why you wanna go
good for
watch it in a
you.
movie theater. I know because you didn't have the same. And then I watched it like on a Saturday matinee and there was like old women like there and they were laughing. I was like, "See, bitch, like it is not just for one
Okay.
age group." Like they were laughing a lot like at the stuff. I was like, "Damn, bitch, okay." And even at the end, they like looked at us and like, "Oh, that was so good." And I'm like, "I'm really glad you liked it because you would think like, oh, the older people, they're not gonna get this Gen Z, like generation here." But when that boy and I watched a bit of The Summer I Turned Pretty, so okay. But like, and Tina Fey did a whole thing, and he was like the unanimous choice. Like, yes, we want him as Aaron Samuels, even though he's like, I do not sing, which I think worked better that he didn't sing at all in this. Is that that boy came on screen and those girls cheered for like 2 minutes straight. We're like, ah, and you're like, okay, shh, Ancha, like I'm like, they really like the whole thing. I was like, I can see, but I think I'm also like older enough. I'm like, oh, he seems like such a kind, sweet boy. But no, everybody enthralled with him. I'm like, wow. I'm like, okay.
I okay. I good to know. I don't want to get on the bad side of his fans. I'm fucking scared now. So let me change what I was gonna say. No, I'm kidding. Um, I do want to say like I think he did a great job as Aaron because again they did change up Aaron for the musical and the movie musical for him to have more in common with Katie. So he was like you see how like smart he is and like how you could see him and Katie potentially like work together well together in a relationship. Um and I remember I was talking my sister was like, "Okay, let me not get my sister in trouble." But she was like, "Huh?" She's like, "What?" She's like, "I don't think he fits Aaron that well." And I was like, "I don't know." I was like, "I love him as Aaron because he looks like a high school boy. Like he looks like the
Mhm.
boy in high school that everybody wants. Like that everybody is like, oh my god, he's the hottest one in high school. Like it works. It works and I think he did a very good job and he is very sweet and I've seen all the interviews and I want to hug him and I want to be friends with him cuz he seems like the sweetest boy ever. Um but yeah, no, I think he did a great job.
No, he was
But
perfect,
yeah.
like you said. I think that was great. Like I think every casting in this movie musical was perfect, was on point, and I think again they added. And like you said, he looked like the boy that like he's just so like he's a sweet boy. He can do like he's all around type of boy. He's good at math. He's also like good at sports. Like it made sense why everyone could fall for him because he just seems like sweet. He's pretty good looking. Like why not? Like he seems like a gentleman. But it just makes me reminds me like when Stupid with Love and then like you see Katie just like watching him. from like afar, which I thought was so funny. I thought that was such a great thing. But then I think because I don't know, I think they maybe had like money from like Motorola to like show off that phone, that flip phone that kind of looks like the Samsung one because like I just remember him
Girl.
playing with it in his hand and I'm like they really, but I'm like that's such a boy thing to do. Like the way he did play like it's so where you're like yes, like I could see these people in high school 100%. Be
Yeah.
like,
And that's the thing that
yes.
I really appreciate because there's a lot of shows and movies that, like I said, they have like 30-year-olds playing teenagers, and you're like,
Well, all of Glee, pretty
I
much.
literally all of Glee, the fact that those actors were like 2 years younger than Mr. Shu is illegal. It should be illegal. And I understand why they have adults. I understand why they have older people playing teenagers. I get it. I
Hmm.
understand the laws of I know. But come the fuck on, bitch. Really, like they look like they could be substitute teachers. Yeah,
I
we're like an
will.
hour
Oh,
and a half in.
yeah,
Let's
we're already
wrap
too long
up.
into this.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say just real quickly because in the sense of like, okay, I'll go fast. I really liked. I'll do this one first. Lindsay Lohan's guest appearance was the
Oh,
best casting of her. Like I didn't even think of that idea, and you're like the fact that
neither
she
did
is
I.
like she is meeting the mathlete competition. You're like, fuck. Like I could, yes, that makes so much sense. I do understand in the sense of people popping up, and also the fact that like Ashley Parks played Madame Park and did French, like that she knows French, like, and then when she does the Regina look, the wet look, that was so funny when she dips her hand in the thing and she's like, "Hi." But with like yes, I would have loved more like people popping up in the movie, but with I like the fact that Lindsay Lohan actually had like a bunch of lines, that the fact that she wasn't just some quick little like hi and
Mm-hmm.
leave. And when when like Katie says something that Mike and she's like, "Girl, I don't know your life." Like that was
Yeah.
funny. Or when she's like, "This has only ever happened once," and like they have the tie. Like I like that they nodded to it, but they weren't like because then you have like for instance Principal Duval and Miss Norbury, the fact that you find that they are married, that was so cute where you're like, oh, okay, so it's like, so in a way, like that did exist. And I remember Tina Fey talking about it like, in a way, no offense as teachers, you are going to have these sort of same kids, like a Regina always come through. You're always going to have like an Aaron Samuels, like, you know, like, yes, they have the same names. And I think that's where people were getting confused, like, because we had old people returning that they're like, well, is this in the future? But that they had little notes that like, this could exist on its own or it does exist in the same universe, but like that we got those things that we were like, oh, they do end up together, like they do like you know
Mm-hmm.
they're married and they have their dogs, and that like Lindsay Lohan, whether she is Katie here and there, but her doing that and like playing to like the smart version of Katie, you know, doing the mathlete competition. I will also say I was nervous based on the trailer of Busy Phillips playing Miss George because Amy Poehler as Miss George, no one will be as iconic as her, and the way she played it, like so like chalant where she's like pretending not to try hard but she's trying so hard. I just love the way that she, you know, did that role. But I was like so nervous, but actually like Busy Phillips didn't bother me at all. She definitely played a very updated version of Miss George in the sense that she's like obsessed with like the high school boys, and you know the fact that when she has like
Which
the wee, yeah, that was cringe. But I guess
that's
this
a
is also
little.
the generation that has MILF manners, so I guess like that's the day and age we live
God,
in.
yeah.
So but when like she comes home and she has the "We love you" and it's like all about her and like the fact that she's
Bitch,
like an
yeah.
influencer, like that was a funny way of updating her, like for this generation for sure.
Yeah.
But I will just, if we want to touch on the directors did a very good job. I like that it's a pair. I think that worked probably
Also,
better in the fact that they shot in a month. But like the way that they staged everything, like the musical numbers, so impressive. Like there was a lot of like background comedy too, the fact that all those extras and cast committed and were doing, you know, like the animal
Yeah.
moves, but also like freezing and frozen, and like the way that they work through. And I can only imagine like how many takes and the choreography and the rehearsal to get everything,
Oh,
and it like paid off so well because every musical number, you're like, damn, that was good. Like, oh, and like having a choreographer, and like updating the dance moves, and everything was so smooth. But they do have like they had a series called Quarter Life Poetry where they do kind of songs and that same choreography. So in a way, like they were kind of like the best directors to kind of pull off what they did with, especially a lot of these like one shot musical numbers. So I think they did like a phenomenal job in what they were able to bring to life with this movie.
I did love, I'm a sucker for one shots. I really am. I don't know what it is about them. I love one shots. I love beautiful, like, fluid movement with camera. I don't know. It like tickles my brain in like the best way ever. And so, yeah, this movie had a lot of them and it made me really happy. And it also really works, especially with all the choreo, bitch. Yeah, like you said, the ensemble of this movie deserve a round of applause because they all fully fucking committed and they did an incredible job. So iconic. Also, I do want to give a big shout out to, bitch, how do I say it?
Oh,
I'm
I
gonna
thought you
get
were gonna say our
canceled.
girl from Rise of the. Did you see the girl from Greece, Rise of the Pink Ladies in it?
I did, Ari. I saw her. I
Yes, she's
saw
like, you
her.
better.
My mic. I saw her and I literally was like, "Oh, fuck yeah." I'm like, "Dude, yes." Iconic. Love her. Jaquel, who plays Damien. He did such a good job. His comedic timing and his delivery were really really good, and he had me laughing like every time. So good job to him. He did a phenomenal job, and I'm glad that he was given the opportunity to do it because he did a phenomenal job. And the whole part where like they're trying to tell Katie like you have to pick a French name, and he's like Chanel. She's like no. That shit had me laughing. I was like, yeah. I'm like, yeah. That's like, yeah. That's it.
No, oh yeah. No, the way he revamped a lot of the deliveries of the lines, like she doesn't go here, or his like little fan that he had, like because he was fanning himself because it was really hot where they were shooting, and used that for like "Don't look at us," or like
Bitch, when
his
he does
little
that and it echoes through the gym, I was like, boom.
um, and then like even his like "You go Glen Coco," which I like that we were kind of Glen Coco, that we never saw Glen Coco, but that he was looking right at us, which I thought was cute way of directing that. And then I like that he was like, "And none for Gretchen Wieners, bye." Like his delivery of those iconic lines,
Bye.
yeah, like it was so good, and I love that he made it his own, and the fact that like
Yeah.
even on his social media, like paying tribute to each of like the original like Damien's before him and their presentation, like you know that because he talks about like this is the first time he saw a plus size gay man on screen, like this is a big deal for him to play this role. And I love okay, because I really love the chemistry between. I mean, you always did like Janice and Damien, but
Uh,
I'm glad that they kept it like in the musical, because obviously they couldn't have a car in the musical when they find out
the
Katie had a
fucking
party, and that they use the Jezzy, that they use the scooter for this one because it's so funny, and like also just makes me think of my bestie Rolando and us shooting something like that. But like then when they leave,
bitch.
which first of all, Ali E, incredible. I already knew she was gonna kill it as Janice,
Girl.
but when she sings the somebody gets hurt, like that reprise where she's like, "It's fun," like chills,
Yes.
where you were like, "Damn, that part right there." There's the Oscar, like lo, like even though I don't know if this movie will ever get nominated for that, but like her emotion and her thing, like she's such I'm like obsessed with everybody in this class, but her, she's like so fucking good, like at singing and acting, and you're like, dang girl, like you nailed it. But when they drive away and Damien and she's like this, and then Damien's patting, like it's the little things
Yeah.
like that, like that I love, is
Yes.
like when you get to act and you're like, oh, we're gonna do like this little thing, that everybody just like played it so well, even the little stuff that you're like, shit, that was funny, like dang, like, and they're such like good friends and like there for each other. And I love their also take on I'd Rather Be Me, where she's running through and like singing. And
Mm-hmm.
then yeah, obviously that's like in the musical too, where like you get hit by the bus, but you're over here looking at Janice, and it's like she got hit.
Well, shit.
But yeah, no, those two were so phenomenal. They can sing so good that like you were happy
Oh
to hear
yeah.
them anytime. Or like their little narrator thing too, where they like pop up like. And I will have to say, his winter talent show number, I like the twist on it that they did, because that was the most unexpected, hilarious thing. And you're like, okay, this is like black and white, like French. You're like, okay, what's going on here? And then you're like looking at the lyrics and you're like, why does this song sound familiar? And then when the principal's like, and that was a French, rendition of the iCarly theme song, you're like, I remember like everybody in the
It's
audience was
like
like laughing. We all like took a moment to process and we're like, shut up. He did not just sing the iCarly theme song in French. Like, that's the most high school shit. Like, clearly they had a French assignment or somebody went into like, I'm trying to learn this thing. And then you realize like they Paramount owns iCarly. So then they could easily get away with it too. You're like, that was smart. You better. You better. Paramount said, we're going to keep it in the family. You can only use this. These songs, only these songs from the list. And okay, I know this is already too long, but I have to say this. The stuff like we don't need to get into like I mean they did change, which was like for instance like in Sexy like Rosa Parks to Joan of Arc, or like they definitely changed stuff like where they didn't say social suicide, and like they definitely got rid of all like problematic stuff for sure, and little
also
things
the
that they
line of in Meet the Plastics when
oh
Regina in the original
115.
Broadway score says,
Yes.
"I'm never more than 115."
Which I like this new lyric better about the filter thing, because I remember hearing it. I said, "Oh damn, that's a good line." I was
Mm-hmm.
like, I don't think that was the original. I'm like, that one I liked a lot better. Also, Tina Fey being Miss Norbury just made sense. Like it didn't like obviously on
A
Broadway, like
hundred
girl
percent.
don't sing, but like her being it, like you just feel like there's that nostalgic feeling of like that's who I'm expecting to be the homeroom teacher. Oh, okay. The changes that they made, I liked that Katie only had a single mom. First of all, save money there, because I mean I did love the dad, like the like again like everybody committed in the original like yeah, I always thought that shit was funny, like the parents and how the dad was just like yeah okay. And I liked that mom, like that relationship where she's like no, come sleep with me. I thought like the way that they did it, also the fact that they added a new song, which is What Ifs, which I really like that they focused on, because Roar is a good song, but I think I like that they changed this and kind of mellowed it down and kind of was like, and it was able to be reprised later on of like, oh, this what ifs, maybes, like that she wanted to leave, like that her mom declined at first. And I thought that was an interesting way, instead of being like, oh, we're moving, come with us, that it was her who really wanted to get out and, like see the world, and like the world had more to offer, and that she wanted to be like challenged in a new way. I thought that was interesting. I also love her shoes, bro. Her like that that girl was obviously living in Africa with those shoes. She's like where she's like, I don't know why those shoes don't. And even like Janice being like, yeah, no, yeah, yeah, maybe not those shoes. But I really did like where we got to explore more of that relationship between Regina and Janice with the wonderful reenactment with dolls that is said
Oh, period.
before Revenge
That
Party.
shit got me. Sorry, that shit got me triggered to Fargo with the puppets, and I was like, first of all, that, and I can't get rid of John Hamm, bitch. That man needs to get away from everything I'm watching because I just want to punch him in the face. Not him, but just his face because of Roy Tillman, and I can't seem to separate. But he killed it as Coach Carr for like the 5 seconds he was in there.
Oh yeah, no, I thought he was, because it's true. Like, and I'm glad they didn't have him make out with like students too. I'm glad they cut that
Yeah,
too.
that was weird. But I do love when he was the whole montage thing going back to when he's like, "See, Regina should be lifting through her core."
Where you're
So
like,
good. But
but
sorry.
like a teacher would be like that on TikTok, or like when he's
A
like
hundred percent.
hormones, which is from like the musical where he's like spelling out horn, and then they're like making fun of him
Core.
like through social media, which is so every student every day like I'm gonna fail my teacher and cancel him. Um, but yeah, like that relationship, because I remember Tina Fey saying like she's like that's the most interesting relationship, and it's true. Like we did get like the bathing suit thing, but like the fact that he was like, no, I'm telling it, and that you see like Janice putting on her mask, like she doesn't want to, like afraid. I thought that was good too, like where she still played the no, don't tell her, I don't want it, like for people to know about this story, but that he showed it with like the brat stall, which is so like Mean Girls, like she's a brat, and then like Dora the Explorer, which again, shout out, I guess, the Paramount Plus, they got the rights for Dora, and then they're like, and then they would show their emotion with the little plush toys with the big eyes, and I'm like, I forgot about those. I was like, it was like past my generation, but I'm
Dude,
like,
I used
yeah,
to have
no,
so
people.
many.
And they're like, and they put a little flag in that like she did come out, and like, and that like the whole like where she kissed her, and then you saw how evil that she like used her thing like to get what she wanted, and the fact that she also was threatened like by Karen, and that like even though Karen had no thing, but like, oh, that boy might like Karen, I gotta do something. And then when he's like, but oing, 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 like, oh, I saw two girls kiss. We're like, that's so middle school. I can't even like, but like, I'm like, I like that new addition backstory, and I'm also glad that like we saw Damien and Janice like bring somebody to the like come to the dance, like that she was with that girl from homeroom, and that like he
Mm-hmm.
did like dance with the boy that he waved to, and that we kind of got to see them, because like, yes, we saw Janice end up with like the mathlete, which I prefer. Yeah, Gretchen can get with Kevin G, but seeing like Janice being out and being like a proud like lesbian, Janice is a pyroless. We're like, what, the whole backpack lighting on fire thing was so funny. She's like, I got a
Bitch.
boyfriend, and then she lit my backpack on fire, and you're like, oh shit. Or like Sissy Liz, and you're like, what? And then you're like, obsessive lesbian, like that's so middle school too, to make up a dumb nickname that don't make no sense, that you're like,
No, make
okay,
no
like.
sense, bitch.
But I did like the credit scene where you see Janice helping like pour the drink for Regina, and then Regina's hugging her, and you're
Oh,
like,
for Regina.
yeah, you're like, I would love to see, like, you're like, because people were thinking where they're like, oh, Renee Rapp, like she's like a icon, like, oh my gosh, clearly like Regina's like queer, like are we gonna see that? Is she gonna end up with Janice at the end? And in a way where you're like, okay, yeah, I could like ship that, but you're like, I kind of like that it was like where Janice was with somebody like new entirely, like that they could still have their lives outside of it, which I think is more high school, where you do have your clique, but doesn't mean like you don't know people outside, and you're like have those relationships. And I do like where they said where they come back and they say, hey, we're so sorry for yelling at you, like that you shouldn't go with Aaron Samuels, and that it's them who are supporting her to go after him. I thought that was really cute, and I think built on their friendship that we didn't really get to see, where she's then telling them about like, oh, I had this interaction with him, and then they're like, girl, and like they're the ones who are there. So then I think it like hurts more when you realize that like how easy she was like, oh, I can't really hang out with you guys. Or, and it's cute when like the actual band is playing also. I thought that was cute, like where they're like, hey, stop guys, stop playing above the tree. Or where I did like the meta at the trust fall, where the girl's like, hey, I'm so sorry for saying that you were dragging during revenge party. It's just like there's a lot going on that we have to like add up. And I was like, I'm glad they put that in, like that was funny. Where like you're like, it was a lot, and then the principal was like, what? And you're like, it doesn't matter, it doesn't
They're all like,
matter. Like, we just have to break the fourth wall really quick and make you aware that we know the people playing the music are here at the school.
we're about to hit 2 hours. So if you're gonna hate on any Mean Girl rendition, hate Mean Girls 2, because why the fuck was that ever made? That's all.
That's all. No, like literally, because like nobody remembers that musical. Oh, no.
No, it wasn't a musical, girl. It was just a movie.
No, whatever. So there's too many damn musicals, bitch, that I'm getting confused. Nobody remembers that movie. Hold on, somebody's calling me. Nobody remembers that movie, first of all. And
Yeah.
clearly, that shows you that people did want more Mean Girls. The fact that they were like, we'll make a second one, cast
Let's make a
these
second
girls,
one.
try and tell a different story. And then y'all realized you didn't want a different story. You wanted the same old shit told in a new way. That's what you
And that's what this movie musical is. So don't hate on it.
don't hate on
Or
it. And
hate
guess
on it, but
what?
in a
But like if you don't like musicals, then you're not gonna like the movie. That's just plain facts.
yeah. And let me tell you something. Have a little rant really fucking quickly because some of y'all out there don't fucking know how to have any etiquette for the cinema anymore, okay? Turn your damn phone off. Stop fucking talking through the entire fucking movie. Because when I went to go see the movie, I know you had a great experience, and I'm so glad for you to have a good experience and people laughing and having a good time because I was laughing and having a good time. But there was this fucking group of little fucking teenagers that literally every single time, like before a musical number would start, they would audibly groan and moan and be like, "Oh my god, why is there another fucking song playing?" I'm like, "Can you shut the fuck up?" I'm like, if you don't, the thing I don't understand is if you don't like the movie, if it's not what you were expecting it to be, you can get up and you can leave discreetly. You don't have to fucking make a whole scene about it, bitch. You can leave and that's it. But also, by the end of the movie, if you're still fucking like moaning and groaning about musical numbers, at the end of the movie, if you didn't figure out it's a musical, your IQ is severely fucking low, bitch. Like how? Like what? Really, bitch? Anyway, that's my little rant. It was so annoying. Like I don't understand. Yeah, if you don't like musicals, it's not for you. But if you want to try something new and watch a new rendition of the original, it's a lot of fun. You just got to give it a shot, and that's
It's
all
also
I'm gonna
just a
say.
fun
And
movie.
also,
Oh, I was gonna say it's just a fun
yes,
movie, like period. Like it's a good time. Like for instance, one of my friends actually had never seen
yeah,
Mean Girls and just wanted to go because of like she knew the people, whatever, like in it. Um, but like, but even my mom was like, "Oh, I don't remember like the movie. I didn't see much." She's like, "This was still a fun, good movie, enjoyable." And I know some like critic people that I was following that were like, "Oh yeah, sometimes like the musicals like break up the storyline." I'm like, okay, I don't think you're realizing like a musical. Like, also listen to the lyrics. You will realize it's not stopping the movie from moving forward. It's actually giving you a perspective or helping it move forward. So I was like, but again, like I like this movie too much, and I'm gonna stand by it. I'm gonna defend it. So I will like be like, what? But I understand everybody has their own opinion, and that's why we have a bunch of movies. So if you didn't like this movie, don't mean you gotta hit on what we said. Or if you didn't like what we said, that's our right to just come out here and say stuff. So, like,
but
or
yeah. Also,
put
it's all
a link
opinion,
to your
bitch.
review and I'll watch it. Okay, so like, don't like. Well, I'll support you even if you don't have the same opinion as me on the movie. Maybe I won't watch it all the way through because I'll be like, no, I'm good. I don't need to hear it. But
Bitch,
yeah.
I
No,
can't.
I will watch this movie. I'm
But
excited for when it comes out on streaming. I will definitely watch this and just like I just want the music videos to come out where like it's just the musical numbers and watch it through. Like it's so yeah. I really love this movie.
no,
So
it definitely is a good time, and I feel like yeah, you just gotta give it a shot. And also the whole thing of people are comparing it to the original. I'm like, guys, you can't do that. It's a whole different medium. Like it, like you just can't compare it because it's different. It's different. There's music in it, and people, yeah, when people are like, why is there music in it? I'm like, dude, it's a musical. Like I know you don't know how to use Google, bitch,
but
and
also
fucking
there's a
look shit
music
up real
note.
quick.
There's a music note in the A. Why would they add that? Was music ever a part of the original one? No. So like, come on, like, and yes, they may not have used it in the original trailer. You didn't hear the music. You literally heard it in the teaser. The whole like Meet the Plastics Regina. So it's like they did advertise.
That's
Like don't blame it
yeah.
all on the marketing. Like and sometimes, no offense, they may have marketed the trailer more for like a younger crowd where you had Olivia Rodrigo playing where you kind of were like, ooh, like this is a movie I want to go see because technically most of the people that we already liked Mean Girls, you already had me at Mean Girls, Tina Fey, the cast that like me watching the
Right.
trailer, yes. Like even if the trailer was shit, I was still gonna go to the movie theater and watch it to figure out what I thought about the movie. But I think they also were trying to get like a younger generation to be like, no, 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 come, come, come. Like like they are trying to make money back from this. So
But with all of that being said, we just hit 2 hours, so we're gonna wrap this up because it's been a lot longer than we intended it to be. But we did also hit three different fucking things essentially. So yeah. So that's gonna be the end of this episode, our first episode of 2024. We've got a really fun lineup coming up of episodes, which I'm so excited for. So yeah, I'm excited for all that. If you guys have any movies or shows you want us to talk about or react to or anything, just let us know. And yeah, we will catch you guys in the next one. Bye. She doesn't even go here.
crackheads out. Woo!